Inlay. I'm the Director of Voter Service for the League of Women Voters of the Charlottesville area. And we are having the 5th District US Congressional Candidate Forum today. And we have people from the press and the media in general and you. And we're asking you to participate in this and to take a card that you're given and with your pencil and come up with some good questions for the candidates if you can. We'll have those at the end of the session. And can you hear me? Yes. No. And tonight I'm very pleased to welcome the 3 candidates that are here this evening. We have Lawrence Gaughan, Democrat. We have Ken Hildebrandt, Independent Green Party of Virginia, and we have Paul Jones, Libertarian. So we're very pleased they could come this evening. And Robert Hurt, of course, was invited, but he's unable to attend. Our moderator this evening is Sue Friedman. Sue is a wonderful choice for moderator. She's a league member of long standing. She's had over 35 years in the league, and she has been the president of 4 different chapters. So she's got plenty of experience, and we'll turn the evening over to you, Sue.
Thank you so much, Dina. And again, we want to thank the League of Women Voters of the Charlottesville area, as well as the City of Charlottesville and Channel 10 for broadcasting this voter event live, and it will be rebroadcast as well. We are here this evening to hear from candidates for the 5th Congressional District of the U.S. House of Representatives. As you know, these candidates must be 25 years of age or older. They must be a citizen of the United States for 7 or more years, and they must reside in this Virginia 5th Congressional District. Tonight, our format, we will have 2-minute opening comments from each candidate, followed by 4 questions from the League of Women Voters, including a Vote for 11 question, which is a national issue question. 2 to 3 audience questions will then be asked. The audience can submit their questions on the card that was provided to you and share those with league members who will be up and down the aisles to collect them. We will consolidate these questions to avoid duplication, and we ask that you do ask questions of a federal nature that these gentlemen would be addressing were they in Congress. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question in rotating order. Then, each candidate will have up to 1 minute and 30 seconds for a response or rebuttal, if you will. Each candidate will then have a 2-minute closing statement addressing their legislative priorities if elected. League member Susan Roberts, who is up on your right, will serve as our timekeeper this evening. I do ask each candidate to be respectful of the agreed upon timelines. Now, for our opening statements, with an order determined by a drawing held earlier this evening, we will ask first candidate Hildebrandt.
Thank you. I thought we were going to get 3 minutes, 2 minutes, that's okay. There's a lot of problems in Washington, and there's a lot of solutions that aren't being used. Number 1, industrial hemp. We could be growing our own energy right now. Why are we digging for it? Why are we mining for it? Why are we having disasters like Fukushima in the Gulf? Because of the illegality of a plant, industrial hemp, which has some 25,000 different uses. It's the economic shot in the arm our district and nation needs now. It used to be illegal in the state of Virginia not to grow hemp. Okay, so it's based on silly propaganda, and we need to end that. We need to end all plant illegalities. It's really crazy for law enforcement to be chasing people for plant possession, plants that were given to us on this earth. And even poppies, yes, that's right. Look at in early 2001, the Taliban had eradicated poppy production in Afghanistan, okay? And now we have our soldiers over there patrolling their fields, and Obama's saying, well, it's their old culture. Wait a minute. Colin Powell went over there with a $120 million check for them to give them for eradicating the poppies. We can't do what they did. That's nonsense. So we have our government working for poppy production and then over here arresting people. Last thing, tax structure. We need to revert it back to what it was like in the 60s or 70s. In fact, it was the top 1% were taxed 70% on their highest income all the way up until Reagan got into office. What I'm suggesting is that we break down the top 1% category because times have changed, and you know, it's not the same as 250K as a billionaire, but we need to even that out. So if we straighten out the tax structure and legalize industrial hemp, those two things will help us tackle that $18 trillion debt we have. We need to stop electing puppets and have people in office. Thank you.
Thank you. Now candidate Gaughan.
Yes, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum and for their long tradition of being inclusive and inviting all candidates to be part of these forums. I understand they even invited my incumbent Republican opponent. However, it is an insult and a tremendous disservice to the people of our district that he does not show up. We have really, number one problem in America is too much power in the hands of too few people. It's concentration of wealth and power is a threat to our democracy. Our shrinking middle class is a tremendous threat to our democracy. We live in an America where the 400 richest people in America have a net worth that's equivalent to 150 million other Americans. That's not acceptable. Trickle down did not work. It has not worked. It continues to not work. The root problem behind this is low turnout and lack of participation, particularly in these non-presidential elections. So it's very important to address that. Government seems to only work for the 1%. And right now, a lot of people are not voting because they've lost faith in their government and faith in politics. People are sick and tired of business as usual. So we have an incumbent Republican who has made things worse. He's part of the worst Congress with the lowest approval ratings in the history of the United States. So this is his policy is to deregulate Wall Street and big business and big oil. He's part of a divisive Koch brothers funded faction that wants to privatize Social Security, make Medicare a voucher system, put the debt that we have on the backs of students, working people like myself, veterans and seniors, and deny wage increases to millions of Americans. And he wanted to deny millions of Americans access to affordable health care. And when he didn't get what he wanted exactly a year ago, he shut down our government at a cost of an additional $20 billion. So we cannot expect career politicians to fix the mess that they've created. I am the only candidate up here who has actually gone through a primary to get the nomination to run in the Democratic Party. And it's important to note because
Thank you so much for your opening.
Thank you.
And now candidate Jones.
Hello. I'm a libertarian because I love liberty. I love that we are a nation of immigrants. I will support measures that allow more immigration and that will help immigrants that are already here to gain permanent resident status. I love that we have separation of church and state. I will continue to support our right to marry whom we please without government interference. I love our freedom of speech. I will always fight against any attempt to curtail it, and I will continue to defend that right. I love the fact that we have a right of privacy. I will always work to protect it. I will help stop the illegal and intrusive attempts by government to collect our emails and listen to our phone conversations. I love that our Constitution guarantees our right to own property. I will work to institute safeguards against the unlawful use of eminent domain. I admire and honor our armed forces. The job of government is to protect us from aggression. Endless foreign intervention makes us less safe, costs the taxpayers untold billions of dollars, and recklessly wastes the lives of our troops. I love liberty, the idea that adults should be allowed the freedom and the responsibility to make the important decisions in their lives without government interference. I will work with any individual or any party that works to promote liberty and protect our freedoms. I will oppose any attempt by any party to curtail or infringe upon our rights. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the first question, we will begin in alphabetical order and rotate that order throughout the questions. What solution do you propose for the undocumented immigrants who are already in the United States? And we'll start with candidate Gaughan.
Yes, the policy under Reagan was to look the other way while millions of undocumented people came across the border. My proposal would be comprehensive immigration reform, which, by the way, is not amnesty. It would tighten our borders. It would put people in a position where they could go on get a path towards citizenship by paying fines, penalties, and taxes, and becoming, through the citizenship process, they would actually be able to increase our economic stability in America, and we would be able to treat people humanely for a change, and really move this country forward in ways that have been our long tradition. We are a nation of immigrants. Let's continue to be so.
Thank you. And now, candidate Hildebrandt.
Okay. What I think we need to do regarding immigration is take a look at why have we received this massive immigration. And that's because, in no small part, NAFTA. These trade organizations, what they've done is they've destroyed the Mexican farmers. And so the farmers couldn't compete with our corporate subsidized farming up here, and so the workers started going up north. And if you take a look at these people who are coming here, they look Native American to me, a lot of them. I mean, they probably have more rights to this land than we do. We're all a nation of immigrants. Now, I've seen both sides of this too, because I remember walking the streets of New York City and talking to a guy who was going through garbage, and he said, "Well, Ken, you don't understand." And he got, most people don't get it like this, but he did. Smaller guy, but he knew I didn't mean any harm. He said, "Look, I see this another way. They pack 20 people into a room, and they can outwork me." So again, it has to do with the scarcity issue. You know, let's revert the tax structure back to where it's not all going toward the top 1% and everybody else is behind the 8-ball. You know, and then we don't have this thing where we feel like, you know, everybody's arguing over the crumbs. And we need to treat these people with respect when they come in here, not just throw them in cages. So that's my view on immigration reform. Look back in time and get at the roots.
Thank you. And now, candidate Jones.
Yes, the problem of immigration is too vast. There's too many undocumented people here for us to even think about trying to send them all back. I mean, it would be inhumane and impossible. So we have to deal with the reality on the ground. I'm all for relaxing our immigration laws to make immigration easier to this country. And we need to come up with a way that the immigrants here can achieve a green card or permanent residence in the United States. And the Republicans like to push the story that the immigrants are coming over here and they're taking, you know, welfare and health care. They're getting all the freebies, and that's why they're coming here. They're coming here to work. And they're good workers. And they're making more money than they've ever made in their lives. And they're sending some of it back home to support their families. And it's just outrageous to think that they're just coming here to sponge off us. It's just a fear thing that the Republicans like to throw out there. So we have to change the laws, give them access to permanent status, and some of them even access to citizenship down the road. But they can start paying taxes and Social Security. They would have to pay back taxes and penalties. But welcome them to America.
Thank you. And now there's an opportunity if each candidate would like to have a response to what they've heard. Candidate Gaughan, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Yes, I just want to add that the important thing about treating people humanely is that we do have some laws on the books that allow people to come here under refugee status. That's a different category. If people are coming here under those refugee statuses, then they should be allowed to stay here without going through the process of fines and penalties and going, being sent back to their homeland to go to the back of the line to the path towards citizenship. So I would like to add that, and I'd like to also add that the important thing is that we are losing the American dream as a whole in this country, all of us. And so people coming here are looking for an American dream that is dying because as our democracy is crumbling, people are slipping through the cracks. And the reason our democracy is crumbling is because our government is designed to favor the 1%.
Thank you. Candidate Hildebrandt, anything further?
Oh, definitely. Well, let me, first of all, I want to speak to Hert's absence. I used to be a track runner. I ran a 420 mile in high school. I almost didn't run the mile on that day when I ran 420. I've run 421 a couple times. I said to the coach, I just really felt burnt. He said, well, give it a shot. Well, with one lap to go, it was 3:19, and there the pack was. I went by everybody, including my teammate who had never beaten me. He got second in the country in the 800 meters. And I ran 420 mile. Robert Hurt didn't show tonight. He didn't show tonight because he couldn't defend his views. He's ducked Jeffrey Clark in the past, and he ducked me in the past. And what else did he have to do that was more important than getting up and saying, look, I'm asking you to hire me, and I'm trying to give you a reason why you would want to hire me. He's not here. What else is he doing tonight? And incidentally, he couldn't be here supposedly on the 20th, the 28th, the 29th, and the 30th. If anybody buys that, then they deserve Robert Hurt. However, the rest of us do not. The worst of victims do not. And he's done a lot of damage in these immigration policies. You know, NAFTA was supposed to be re-looked at through Obama, and that never happened. So we need, again, with the immigration, to look at the underlying causes, and we need to get rid of this scarcity by taxing the rich what they deserve to be taxed.
Thank you. Candidate Jones.
No, I'm good, thanks.
We'll move to question 2. Explain why you do or do not support requiring timely and full disclosure of all political expenditures. And we'll begin with candidate Hildebrandt.
Well, I have no candidate manager, so I don't really care. I don't accept any donations other than effort. I spent $303 in signs. I've been covering elections for 14 years in the United States free of charge. If I get elected to this job, it'll take me a couple terms to break even at making minimum wage. I'm serious. I had to sell my house up north, our house, in order to keep doing this. I've been waiting for this opportunity here for 14 years, either me to have it or somebody else. So thanks, Dean and everybody else, for having this fair presentation, and Lawrence, for you to meet us here as you should, because we're all on the ballots equally. You know, you want a primary, but I had to get 1,000 ballot signatures to get on the ballot, and that turns out to be talking to at least 1,500 people to get that. Okay, and my wife is on the ballot in the 6th, and that's another 1,500. So, you know, we went through a lot to get on the ballot. So, I really hope that everybody gives this a chance. It really Hurt should not win, okay? I saw signs on 29, it was great. Somebody cut out his name out of his pretty big $100 signs he's got there. $70 to $100 a piece they are. He wants to buy his way in again, and he's a puppet. He can't defend any of his positions. So he needs, whether you vote, I mean, of course, I think I'm the most qualified candidate, but all of us are more qualified than him by far. He's one of the worst people we've ever seen in there.
Thank you. And now to answer question 2, candidate Jones.
Could you repeat?
I would be happy to. Explain why you do or do not support requiring timely and full disclosure of all political expenditures.
Expenditures. Yes, I support having to disclose immediately political expenditures. The more transparent the process becomes, the more we hear about how the process is, the madder we get. So it has to be more transparent than it is. All money should be above board, and they should be accountable to the people in their district or state that they're running in.
Thank you. Candidate Gaughan.
Well, one of the reasons that I started to mention the fact that I went through a primary is because doing that gave me an opportunity to do something that a lot of people appreciate. Most Americans feel that both parties are broken. I had an opportunity to shake up my party. And when I ran in the primary and won, I talked about the issues, and I talked about how important it is to get money out of politics. That's the #1 thing that is ruining our system. So if you don't raise money, you don't have money to spend. So I'm for full disclosure of the money that you spend. And here's what I've done, is I've raised money that is from grassroots support. I have not taken or asked for any support from the party apparatus or the infrastructure other than the grassroots people who are working, dedicated, tireless workers who are giving their hearts and their lives to help me win this campaign against an ideological, turncoat, incumbent Republican. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, would any of you like to have an additional response? I'll start with candidate Hildebrandt.
Additional response. Well, I'll tell you something. I had the privilege several years ago of meeting over the phone, several talks with Granny D, aka Doris Haddock. Doris walked across the United States for campaign finance reform between the ages of 88 and 90. She told me, with emphysema too, by the way. I met her when she was 99. I was supposed to meet her in person when she was 100, but she passed easily that spring, and I didn't get to meet her. But talking to her on the phone, she said, Ken, I was really walking for publicly funded elections, but people wouldn't understand that, so I walked with a sign saying campaign finance reform. And she told me there were 27 states with pending legislation at that time. Bottom line is, we need to have a more democratic society here, and we're not having that. And the whole key is, I don't really care how much money they spend. I mean, I used to be a chiropractor. If you wanted to go to a chiropractor who had a hammer as a tool, and they had a full-page ad, well, go ahead. Go to the little person who has a little ad. That's what I've always said. And so if they want to spend their money, then go ahead and debate us, because you can't defend your indefensible issues, Robert.
Thank you. Candidate Jones, any other response?
The only thing I would add is that if a candidate is afraid to disclose his expenditures, there must be a reason why. And that's all the more reason he should disclose.
Thank you. Candidate Gaughan.
Well, the money in politics is the root problem, because when you talk to people and they say they're sick and tired of business as usual, it's because they see these candidates that raise $1 million, they spend 3/4 of that money on TV ads. In this particular district, to do that, most of that money would go to places that are not in our district, like Roanoke, Greensboro, North Carolina. These are the media markets that you have to buy the ad time in. It's just unacceptable for me to imagine garnering support from grassroots people and supporters throughout our district, hardworking Americans just like myself, and then throw that money to some Washington consultant or some TV station in Roanoke or Greensboro, North Carolina. They're not in the district. It's a disservice to the people, the good, hardworking people who want real representation, not money in Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, question 3. What policies or administrative practices would you support in order to improve the processes of voter registration and voting for all Americans without undue barriers? And we'll begin with candidate Jones.
Yeah, well, we have to have a process where we can identify people before they can vote. To me, if you can establish your identity when you register, I don't think you need to reestablish it again when you go to the polls. If they've got the good records and they know your name and address and you've already proven who you were, and you can do that even if you don't have a photo ID when you register, because they could even come to your house. There are ways to prove you live where you live just by utility bills, things like that. So I think that once that's been established, there's no need to put anybody into any further problem of coming up with a photo ID. That doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you. Candidate Gaughan.
Yeah, these voter ID laws are coming from one party and one party only. And it's clear that what they want is to buy elections instead of actually go to voters and get people to come to the polls. Now, we know that in any given election like this, particularly these midterm non-presidential elections, over half the people won't come out and vote. And it's because they're cynical. It's because they've lost faith. They've given up. So what we need to do is, rather than restrict voting, we need to expand voting. I would vote for a renewal of the Voting Rights Act, which for the first time since 1965, we have an obstructionist, do-nothing Congress that refused to renew the Voting Rights Act to protect people's right to vote. I would not only renew the Voting Rights Act as it stands, I would even propose some additional safeguards, and so that we can have free and fair elections. I would propose a Voting Rights Act of the 21st century that did not disenfranchise anybody. This is America. This is the United States of America. We should have one person, one vote. That should be your power, not the Koch brother funded money behind politics. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Hildebrandt.
Okay. Well, regarding this, again, I think that, for voters to be disenfranchised, that's not a good thing. But I look at what's the major problem. As a former physician, that's what I look at. Well, what's causing the problem in the first place? What's the biggest problem with elections? The biggest problem with elections, you can look at my website of topconcern.com. And that's my book. It's going to be changed, the name, to Election Spoilers. The spoilers are those who censor the other candidates and claim that there's just two. We got our signatures based on, Elaine got the signatures. She's much better than me. I got some of them, but she's just much better than me. And she just said, not a Democrat, not a Republican. Okay. Where do I sign? People are fed up. Sorry, Lawrence, you don't really fit the mold, though, okay? He's better than most. I like these two guys. They're good gentlemen. And, my problems are with the parties, certain things. But anyway, we really need to look at the debate inclusion. So again, for Robert Hurt, he's asking for you to hire him. And he's not here tonight. We're here tonight. We're here to say, look, we're asking you to hire us. Right. We're gonna, I'm gonna be your employee, And I feel that these guys feel the same way. Hurt does not feel that way, okay? He's probably never worked screened in his life. But, it's debate inclusion again. I think that I don't like to see people losing their ability to vote because they were caught with a marijuana cigarette or something like that. That's horrible. But again, debate inclusion, debate inclusion, debate inclusion. That's where we need to look.
Thank you. And now for our response, if you have one, Candidate Jones.
I agree pretty much with Dr. Hildebrandt on something must be done when incumbents won't debate their challengers. I don't know how you can force them into it, but it seems to me the three of us are running with far fewer funds than Robert Hurt has at his disposal. We've traveled the district back and forth, up and down. The district is larger than the size of New Jersey. And we've all traveled back and forth, spent many nights away from home in cheap motels. And it seems that the people that are going to be doing the voting are being disserved when a candidate won't appear before them.
Thank you. Candidate Gaughan.
I want to point something out that I'm very proud of. The former director of the Charlottesville Regional Chapter of the League of Women Voters, Lauren Himmel, is on the board of my organization, Gov360. I invited her to be on the board after the 2010 election. It took me a couple of years of fostering a relationship. She ended up joining my board. I am a voter advocate. I'm a professional voter advocate. In fact, I'm nationally recognized as the founder and executive director of Gov360. So voting is the utmost important thing to me. And I want to point out that I was initially denied 501c3 status because Gov360 took a stance that we need to support independent and third-party candidates and include them in these efforts, which is why I am honored to be up here with Ken Hildebrandt and with Paul Jones and to have you hear their views in juxtaposition to mine. I think that basically we have a great opportunity right now to talk about how we can come up with practical solutions even outside of the broken parties and broken system in general. A lot of people feel that the system is so broken that they won't get involved, even to the extent that they won't vote. And I am getting involved not only in the system, but I jumped in and got involved within a major party to shake things up and do it this way and make change. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Hildebrandt.
Okay, continuing on what I'm talking.
If you'd like a response about voter process and voter registration.
Well, I mean, I can just keep saying the same thing. Well, I do thank Lawrence Gaughan for being here, because last time the Democrat wouldn't face me, and that's not right. We all need to be here. And I think that the debate inclusion, again, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter how much you spend and all this, if you don't show up at the debate, debates mean everything. That's where you talk to the public and they get to banter the issues back and forth, and you really get to look at things. I do want to address, since we got a few moments, the issue of change. I don't mean to belittle anyone, but I think Obama gave it a bad name. He was in with the mainstream. There was only so far he could take things. And it's not a race issue. We're all the same race, the human race. We all have a common ancestor who is dark-skinned out of Africa. So racism is just complete absurdity, okay? So to like a person for race or not like them for race is crazy, but the change thing, I think Obama did damage to that, and I'm sorry to see that he did, because people say, oh, well, others have said this before. No, he was always backed by the others, and he never gave real reasons for change. I don't like the word belief, okay?
Thank you. The fourth question and the final question from the League of Women Voters will be asked now, and then I will ask for questions from the audience to be brought forward. You still have a chance to write your question on your card if you'd like for us to try to address them. And just as a reminder, we do have this candidate forum through 8:30 if we have questions of interest. So the fourth question: what are the 3 most critical economic challenges or issues facing the United States, and what legislation do you propose to address